It was supposed to be the perfect honeymoon, a time for love, excitement, and new beginnings. Christie Chen, a 36-year-old pharmacist, and her new husband, Bradley Dawson, had chosen the Yasawa Islands in Fiji, an idyllic, remote resort, to celebrate their marriage, a place of peace, tranquility, and paradise. But what started as a dream vacation quickly turned into a chilling nightmare. Just days into their getaway, Christie was found dead in their luxury villa, and Bradley Dawson, her husband of just days, had vanished. In his wake, questions arose. What happened in that villa? And why did Bradley flee after committing such a brutal act? Stay tuned as we unravel the disturbing events that led to a honeymoon turned deadly. This is the true story of Bradley Dawson's escape, the murder of Christie Chen, and the shocking details that followed. Christie Chen was born in Memphis, Tennessee, where she lived most of her life. Described by those who knew her as vibrant, kind-hearted, and compassionate, Christie had always been a loving daughter, a devoted sister, and a passionate pharmacist. A woman who had spent her life caring for others, she had built a strong career and was surrounded by a close-knit family. Christie was a woman who had everything to live for: friends, family, and a career that she was proud of. She met Bradley Dawson through mutual friends a little over a year before their wedding. Bradley, at 40 years old, had a career with a nonprofit organization in Memphis. On the surface, he seemed charming, calm, and supportive. However, those closest to him noted his quiet intensity and occasional mood swings. The more Christie became involved with him, the more Bradley's subtle jealousy and possessiveness began to show. But Christie, in her desire for happiness and security, dismissed these early red flags, convinced that their bond was special. The couple's whirlwind romance moved quickly, culminating in a wedding just a year into their relationship. They were married in a small ceremony in February 2022, surrounded by close family and friends. Everything seemed perfect. The newlyweds decided to escape to the Yasawa Islands in Fiji, to the remote Turtle Island resort, for a luxurious honeymoon. What should have been a time of joy and celebration, however, would soon become a nightmare that none of them could have foreseen. Christie's family and friends often questioned Bradley's behavior, describing him as overbearing at times. His jealousy was always present, though it was subtle and difficult to pinpoint. But Christie had made excuses for his behavior, convinced that these were just small imperfections. Her love for Bradley clouded her judgment, and despite the warnings from those who cared about her, she pressed forward with the marriage. The Yasawa Islands, a secluded paradise where the waves gently crash against the shore and the white sands glisten under the sun. The Turtle Island Resort, known for its exclusive accommodations, was the couple's chosen destination. It seemed like the ideal setting for a honeymoon: private villas, a luxury spa, and miles of untouched beaches. Christie and Bradley checked into their villa on July 7, 2022, excited about the days ahead. For the first 24 hours, the couple appeared to enjoy their time together. They spent the day lounging on the beach, taking pictures, and celebrating their new life together. Yet beneath the surface, tensions were beginning to build. While Bradley was outwardly calm, his jealousy simmered, especially when Christie spoke with other guests. It wasn't obvious to most, but there was a noticeable shift in Bradley's demeanor. By the morning of day 2, the peace was shattered. Guests nearby began to hear loud voices coming from the couple's villa. At first, it seemed like an argument over something trivial, but it quickly escalated into something far more dangerous. Witnesses later recalled hearing Bradley's voice grow louder and more aggressive. It was no longer a simple disagreement; something much darker was unfolding. Day 2 was supposed to be another day of relaxation, but it became the turning point. Christie, trying to enjoy herself despite the tension, chatted with a fellow traveler on the resort. It was a harmless interaction, but Bradley was furious. He stormed into the villa, accusing Christie of being too friendly, of flirting with someone else. The anger in his eyes was palpable as he began to question her loyalty. Christie, confused and alarmed by his reaction, tried to explain herself, but Bradley's jealousy quickly turned into a full-blown rage. This wasn't just about the conversation. This was the manifestation of deeper issues in their marriage. The accusations continued, and Christie became increasingly distressed. She attempted to calm him down, but Bradley wouldn't listen. He was convinced she was betraying him, and nothing Christie said could change his mind. The argument raged for hours, escalating to a point where neither could back down. Christie, feeling trapped, tried to leave the room, but Bradley physically blocked her. Her attempts to flee were met with force. As the argument became more violent, Bradley's anger erupted in a way no one could have predicted. The fight reached a terrifying climax when Bradley, in a blind fury, grabbed the nearest object he could find, the lid of the toilet tank from the villa's bathroom. With a single violent blow to Christie's head, she collapsed to the ground. It was a fatal strike, and it was clear from the blood spatter and the position of her body that she hadn't seen it coming. There was no chance for escape, no chance for defense. The life was taken from her in an instant. Forensic experts later confirmed that Christie had been struck multiple times with the object, causing blunt force trauma to her skull. Her body bore the signs of a violent struggle, with defensive wounds indicating that she had tried to protect herself. But it was too late. Christie had lost the battle for her life. Bradley stood over her, realizing what he had done, but there was no remorse in his actions. Instead, he fled the villa. It was clear he knew what had just happened, but his next move would be critical. The next morning, resort staff entered the villa after noticing a lack of noise. What they found was unimaginable. Christie's body was lifeless, sprawled on the floor, covered in blood. The room showed signs of a struggle. Furniture overturned, personal items scattered. The staff immediately called authorities, and the investigation began. As detectives arrived, they quickly realized that Bradley was missing. He had taken a kayak and paddled to a nearby island, hoping to escape the consequences of his actions. The police launched a search, and within hours, Bradley was found. When they caught up with him, he was disheveled and visibly shaken. But when they asked him what had happened, Bradley seemed confused, as if he had no memory of the events. He claimed that he had gone kayaking to clear his mind after the argument, but his story didn't add up. Bradley's behavior was suspicious. Despite his claim of amnesia, evidence at the crime scene told a different story. His fingerprints were found on the weapon, and blood splatters indicated he had been in close proximity to Christie during the attack. The forensic team confirmed that the trauma sustained by Christie was consistent with a violent, deliberate assault. Bradley's inconsistent account and the overwhelming physical evidence against him left little room for doubt. His memory loss, which he had attempted to use as a defense, was not seen as credible by investigators. Bradley Dawson was charged with first-degree murder. As the trial began in late 2024, Christie's family and friends were forced to relive the horrific details of her final moments. The prosecution laid out their case, showing how Bradley's jealousy, his controlling behavior, and his actions on the night of the murder pointed to a deliberate act of violence. They argued that Bradley had killed Christie in a fit of rage and that the evidence left behind was irrefutable. Throughout the trial, Bradley maintained that he didn't remember killing his wife. His defense attorneys argued that he had acted in a state of temporary insanity, but the jury was not swayed. The forensic evidence, his fingerprints on the weapon, Christie's defensive wounds, and the blood splatters, painted a clear picture of what had transpired in the villa. In December 2024, Bradley Dawson was convicted of first-degree murder. The court sentenced him to life in prison without the possibility of parole, and Christie's family, though devastated, found some sense of closure. It was a bittersweet moment, a life lost, but justice served. Bradley Dawson's actions are a stark reminder of the dangers of controlling, possessive behavior that can escalate into violence. This case serves as a painful illustration of how domestic violence can remain hidden behind closed doors, even in the most outwardly perfect relationships. Bradley's jealousy, though subtle at first, became toxic. It wasn't just about control, it was about power, manipulation, and a complete disregard for Christie's autonomy. While justice has been served, the case still leaves lingering questions. Could this tragedy have been avoided? Were there more warning signs that those around them missed? What does this tell us about the dangers of ignoring toxic behavior in relationships? Christie Chen's story is one of love, loss, and the harsh reality of domestic violence. Her life was tragically taken too soon, but her story serves as a reminder that we must recognize the signs of trouble in relationships before it's too late. Do you think justice was served in this case? Do you believe Bradley's sentence was fair? Or do you think there's more to this story that we don't know? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more in-depth true crime stories.